It was a pretty tense and unexpected moment. During a press conference in Scotland, former US President Donald Trump suddenly launched into an attack on London's Mayor, Sadiq Khan. He didn't hold back, calling Khan a nasty person, and saying he's done a terrible job. What made the moment even more awkward was that UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer was standing right next to him when he said it. As soon as Trump made the comment, Starmer didn't wait. He jumped in with a calm but clear response, "He's a friend of mine, actually." It caught people off guard, not just Trump, but the entire room. You could tell Starmer wasn't expecting that question, but he wasn't about to let it slide either. The moment spread quickly online and made headlines across the world. This isn't the first time Trump and Khan have clashed, but what stood out here was how Starmer reacted. Instead of brushing it off or laughing it away, he took a stand, however brief. Some saw it as a sign that Starmer's willing to speak up, even when the stakes are high. Others thought it might make things awkward between the UK and the US, especially with Trump aiming to return to the White House. In just a few seconds, we saw a mix of politics, personality and pressure all play out live. A US leader insulting a UK city mayor on British soil, and the British Prime Minister stepping in to defend his fellow party member. It was uncomfortable, unexpected, and for many, unforgettable. But it also gave us a glimpse of the kind of international drama we might see more of if Trump ends up back in office. And as for Starmer, his quick comment didn't just defend a friend, it sent a subtle message. That even with powerful guests standing beside him, he's not afraid to speak up. Whether that moment helps him politically or causes problems down the line, that's still up in the air. To really understand why Trump's comment hit so hard, you need to know a bit of the history between him and Sadiq Khan. Their feud goes back several years, and it's never really cooled down. It all started when Trump was running for president back in 2015. That's when he suggested a ban on Muslims entering the US, and Khan, who's Muslim himself, spoke out strongly against it. He said Trump's views were dangerous and made it clear he didn't support him at all. Since then, the two have taken shots at each other whenever the chance came up. Trump has called Khan all sorts of things over the years, stone-cold loser, very dumb, and even accused him of failing to protect London. At one point, Trump even twisted Khan's words after a terrorist attack, making it seem like the mayor wasn't taking it seriously, which wasn't true. Khan hit back, saying Trump was spreading hate and fear. This back and forth has lasted for years. When Trump visited London in 2018, protesters flew the giant balloon of baby Trump in a diaper. That blimp became a symbol of how a lot of Londoners felt about him. And Khan? He made no effort to hide his feelings. He said Trump's views were everything London stood against: racism, division, and bullying. So when Trump once again insulted Khan during that recent press event, it wasn't random. It was just the latest chapter in a long-running personal feud. But this time, Starmer was right there, and that changed the energy. Instead of Khan having to defend himself alone, the Prime Minister stepped in, if only for a second, with that one sentence, "He's a friend of mine." That might seem like a small thing to say, but in politics, moments like that can mean a lot. It showed that the feud isn't just between two public figures anymore, it started to pull in others around them. And with Trump aiming for another run at the presidency, this tension probably isn't going away anytime soon. So let's go back to what actually happened during that press conference. It was held at Turnberry, a golf resort in Scotland that Trump owns. He was there for a visit, and Keir Starmer joined him to talk about UK-US relations. Everything seemed fairly normal until a reporter brought up the idea of Trump visiting London. That's when Trump went off script and said, "I'm not a fan of your mayor, he's a nasty person, and he's done a terrible job." Right away, you could feel the tension. The room went quiet for a second, and Starmer didn't wait. He stepped in with a calm voice and said, "He's a friend of mine, actually." It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it definitely cut through the moment. It was clear he wasn't going to just stand there and let it slide, especially when the mayor in question is part of his own party. Trump didn't back down either. He repeated his opinion, saying again that Khan had done a terrible job. But he also said he'd still visit London anyway. That added a strange twist, basically saying he didn't like the mayor but still liked the city. The back and forth only lasted a few seconds, but it was enough to grab headlines and send social media into a frenzy. What made it all so awkward was that this wasn't a casual chat behind closed doors. It was a public event, cameras everywhere, reporters from all over. You had two powerful men from two major countries standing side by side, and suddenly it turned personal. Trump, being Trump, didn't hold back. And Starmer, who's usually pretty measured, decided to speak up right away. That kind of quick reaction doesn't happen by accident. It shows how sensitive and important that moment was. And honestly, it left a lot of people wondering. Was Starmer just trying to protect someone from his party? Was he defending the idea of respect between leaders? Or was it just instinct? Either way, it showed that even in formal settings like a press conference, the personal stuff can't always be separated from the political. And with Trump in the mix, there's always a chance that things won't go as planned. After the press conference, it didn't take long for Sadiq Khan's team to respond. A spokesperson called Trump's comments childish and said they weren't surprised. They pointed out that during Trump's presidency, more Americans were actually applying for UK citizenship than ever before. It was their way of saying, people clearly want to be here, even when Trump insults the place. They also made it clear that Khan wasn't bothered by the insult. In fact, they said he'd be happy to welcome Trump to London, as long as he's ready to see what the city really stands for. They said Trump would see a place full of diversity, culture, and people living together from all walks of life. That message was aimed at showing London as the opposite of how Trump described it. For Starmer, this moment was a bit more complicated. On one hand, he stood up for someone on his team. On the other, he was trying to keep things polite with a very influential political figure from the US. It's not easy to do both at the same time. Some praised him for defending Khan so quickly. Others wondered if it might stir up problems later, especially if Trump becomes president again. The bigger picture here is about more than just name-calling. It's about how leaders respond when someone from outside their country comes in and attacks one of their own. Starmer didn't make a long speech or argue back, he just made one simple statement. But that was enough to show where he stood. In politics, those small moments often say more than big speeches ever could. And with Trump planning more visits and possibly running again, this kind of drama probably isn't going away. What we saw at that press conference could be a preview of the kind of tension we'll see more of. One thing's for sure.